Hey, it's Erin Antry. So you might have seen something on the news recently about erythritol being linked to cardiovascular disease, and you might have considered throwing out all your Swerve and just panicking, or you might have some follow-up questions. So I've been recommending erythritol as one of the sweeteners you can use in place of sugar if you're trying to lose weight by getting healthier and balancing your blood sugar and your insulin levels. So I've had a lot of clients ask me what I think about erythritol, if I'm going to stop using it and stop recommending it. So I thought I'd make this video to clear up the confusion. So first of all, what is erythritol? Erythritol is two things. Firstly, it's a sweetener that is found naturally in lots of foods: watermelon, grapes, mushrooms, pears, wine, sake, cheese, molasses, soy sauce, lots of stuff. And it's also used in sweeteners like Swerve and Lakanto. And it's used in sugar-free processed foods, which often have a blend of several different sweeteners that include erythritol. And the food manufacturers were able to get a rating of generally regarded as safe because erythritol occurs in nature. We've been consuming it for a long time already. Before I tell you the second thing that erythritol is, if you're new to my channel, welcome, hello. If you're not new to my channel, welcome back. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, or better yet, subscribe and hit the bell, and you'll get notified when I put out a new video. I put out videos like this every week to try to help you on your weight loss journey. Okay, another thing that erythritol is it's a metabolite that's produced in your body. So your body makes erythritol as part of the process of digesting sugar. So it's in your bloodstream already, naturally, if you consume sugar. It's a metabolite produced via the pentose phosphate pathway. And guess what makes this pathway ramp up? Obesity, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, prediabetes, diabetes. So people who have these syndromes have more erythritol in their blood naturally from the digestion of sugars. So this was the study that the media found and had a field day with. It was in Nature Medicine, which is a well-respected journal. I'll put the link in the description with the study if you want to take a look. So what this study found is high levels of erythritol in the blood were correlated to having a higher risk for a cardiovascular event. But there's a really big, really important thing to note. They didn't differentiate between people who were consuming erythritol and people who just had it in their bloodstream as part of digesting sugar. So the study wasn't designed to test for what the media interpreted it to mean, which is that consuming erythritol has health implications. All it did was make a correlation with cardiovascular events and high levels of erythritol in the blood, whether these high levels are from eating erythritol or from the body producing it naturally because that person eats a lot of sugar, or because they're obese or have metabolic syndrome or prediabetes. So it's a pretty big limitation to the study. That kind of means you can't make any conclusions at all from, you definitely can't say whether that eating erythritol increases the risk of cardiovascular disease, because it could just be that the group of people with high erythritol levels were eating more sugar, or because they already have obesity or metabolic syndrome or diabetes or prediabetes. Then the article talks about another study, which is a very small study. It was 8 people for 7 days. So I'm not sure why they would bother doing such a small study, but there you go. So they had these 8 people consume kind of a lot of erythritol, 30 grams. So there's 3 grams of erythritol in a teaspoon of Swerve. So 10 teaspoons of Swerve, I think that's about a quarter cup. So if you have a recipe for brownies, for example, with half a cup of Swerve in it, that would be half the pan of brownies. So the conclusion of this study was that there's an association between increased consumption of erythritol and increased levels in the blood. Seems like kind of an obvious result. But then they didn't, for whatever reason, compare this group of people with another group of people who didn't eat erythritol and then see which group had more clotting in the blood or more cardiovascular events. That would have been a useful conclusion, but we don't have that information. So I think all this study did was create confusion and fear around the consumption of natural sugar-free alternatives like erythritol, when really the best thing you can do for your health is to get off sugar, to bring your insulin resistance down, get the sensitivity up, because high insulin levels or insulin resistance is linked to every single disease out there, and it's shortening your life. And if you can get your insulin down by giving up sugar, then you're doing a great thing for yourself. So there's no way that choosing sugar is a better choice than erythritol, as I can see it. Sugar is going to turn into erythritol anyway, but it's also going to cause insulin resistance and diabetes and eventually cardiovascular disease, right? If you want to dive deeper into the subject of sugar and insulin resistance and the health effects of it, the book Why We Get Sick is a really good book. So he talks about the connection between hypertension and insulin resistance being way more direct than people normally talk about. They usually blame other factors, but he said the scientific community is coming to understand that insulin resistance and high insulin levels directly cause high blood pressure. And then after it increases blood pressure, it increases the fat deposits on the blood vessel walls, increases inflammation. But the nuance is that it's not just a symptom of heart disease, it's the fundamental cause. And Joseph Kraft was a physician scientist who devoted his whole career to studying insulin resistance. He stated, those with cardiovascular disease not identified with insulin resistance or diabetes are simply undiagnosed, because when you find one, you find the other. So we already know about the connection with insulin resistance and diabetes, fatty liver disease, PCOS, but there's also a connection with a whole laundry list of diseases and conditions that we don't talk about the connection. There's a connection with insulin resistance and high insulin to Alzheimer's, migraines, asthma, fertility issues, acne, fibromyalgia, reduced bone strength, osteoarthritis, gout, acid reflux, gallstones, kidney stones, kidney failure, and cancer, especially breast cancer. So check this book out, Why We Get Sick. It's a really good book. It's very eye-opening. So I personally would recommend a dessert made with erythritol over one made with sugar any day of the week, like my super fudgy brownies. If you're interested, I'll put the link in the description for you. You're welcome. And here's why I would recommend a dessert made with erythritol over one made with sugar. First of all, for the weight loss benefits. By maintaining your stable blood sugar and stable insulin levels, it contributes to weight loss. And secondly, for your overall health and decreasing the risk of that long laundry list of diseases and conditions that have all been linked to insulin resistance and high insulin levels caused by eating sugar. So one of the root causes of my weight problem was my incessant sweet tooth. I love cookies and brownies and cakes and all types of sweets. And I could force myself to give up sweets for a while, but eventually in the back of my mind, I knew I was going to cave at some point because honestly, I just couldn't imagine living in a world without chocolate chip cookies. And one of the mistakes I made before I figured out what I was doing was to allow myself to have sugary treats while I was trying to lose weight, but I would just try to keep my portions small or only have 70% dark chocolate or something like that. I was trying to cut back on the amount of sugar I was eating. And I now know that's the hard way to do it because while it's very hard to moderate consumption of sugary foods, and also it just grinds your weight loss down to a halt, which impacts your motivation, right? And what I now understand is wrong with that is what you're trying to do is lose weight on a maintenance plan. So then I figured out a better way to strike balance. And now what I do and what I teach my weight loss clients to do is to have the regular high glycemic, sugary, inflammatory versions of your favorite foods on special occasions or on vacations when you're in maintenance mode or you're in celebration mode and you're not actively losing weight. And then have the cleaned up version of these foods that you can enjoy at any time, even when you're losing weight, especially when you're losing weight. It's literally like having your cake and eating it too. So my recipe for super fudgy brownies is one of my favorite cleaned up recipes. Like the first time I made them, I gave one to my husband and he said, "Oh, wow, I thought you were going to make a healthy dessert." Biggest compliment ever, right? You'll never guess these are healthy and that they're going to keep you on track for your weight loss. So make sure you grab that recipe in the link below. So I have chosen not to change my consumption of erythritol based on this study and not to stop recommending it to my weight loss clients. But if you're more comfortable switching sweeteners, I'll put a link in the description to the 5 natural low glycemic sweeteners that I use and recommend to my clients. And you can choose one of the other 4 options if you prefer. And speaking of my weight loss clients, if you'd like to hop on a call with me and learn about how I help my clients lose 10 pounds in 6 weeks and 50 to 100 pounds inside of a year by balancing their hormones and eating clean, healthy foods to stabilize their blood sugar and keep their insulin levels low, then let's hop on a call. It's a free call, no pressure. We'll just see if we're a good fit to work together. And if we are, I'll tell you more about what that looks like. So head over to erinadri.com and book a time in my schedule and we'll chat. Okay, ladies, you got this. I look forward to hearing about your success.